Good business decisions enable significant long-term success in football. And with their ever-growing impact, we decided to reflect on the best business decisions taken by football clubs. This is not a definitive list or a ranking, and it doesn't pretend to be. Instead, it's a chance to highlight some of the most forward-thinking moves that clubs have made during the modern era. Let's begin by highlighting the major kinds of business decisions that football clubs can take. Player transfer and contract-related decisions, stadium and training ground-related decisions, sponsorship, media and commercial decisions, debt and financing-related decisions, and finally, leadership team and football structure-related decisions. We'll look at each in turn, but start with the stadium and training ground-related decisions. And one of the standouts in that category is West Ham's deal of the century on the London Stadium. The London Stadium was originally built for the 2012 Olympic Games and needed significant renovation to be usable for football. Ultimately, this cost £323 million, after multiple unsuccessful attempts to find a sponsor. West Ham eventually agreed a 99-year rental lease on the stadium. Per this lease, West Ham would pay a fraction of the renovation costs, roughly £15 million, and an annual rent of £2.5 million to use it as their home stadium. They would not bear any operating costs, which far exceeded the rent. These would be borne by the London Legacy Development Corporation, which manages the stadium. Former Sports Minister Richard Cabourn was quoted in The Guardian as saying, "This stadium is the biggest mistake of the Olympics. West Ham are basically getting a stadium costing more than £600 million for a one-time fee of £15 million and a small annual rent." And to make matters worse, Europa League match days were not explicitly covered in the lease of the contract. According to the BBC, their run to the semi-finals of the 21-22 competition earned the club in the region of £12 million, but at an extra rental cost of just £185,000. To their credit, West Ham say that they offered to buy the stadium and also offered considerable cash to purchase commercial rights, but claim that these have been rejected or ignored. But from West Ham's perspective, and strictly as a business decision, this was undoubtedly one of the best. The next category is media, sponsorship and commercial decisions. Manchester United warrant a mention here. The club has been the forefront of commercial innovation, piloting the idea of different sponsors in different geographies and creating a portfolio of diverse partners, building a truly global brand. But the standout here still remains Real Madrid, the first club to truly appreciate the importance of a global brand and fully monetize player image rights. So image rights, which today are the subject of heavy debate, as players agree personal terms on transfers, were largely left untapped 2 decades ago. Florentino Perez recognised very early the economic strength of player image rights, and that would be the off-the-field power behind the famous Galacticos era. He instituted a system whereby player image rights would be shared equally between the club and the player, and this benefited Madrid considerably. To add perspective, David Beckham's image rights at LA Galaxy were split 80-20, 80% to Beckham himself and 20% to the club. This was 50-50 in Madrid. And it's one of the reasons why Beckham, whose commercial value had been significantly undervalued by Manchester United, was such a transfer coup. Under Perez's leadership, Real's global brand grew significantly, and that period was also the dawn of hugely lucrative global tours, including to Asia. Perez actually doubled Real's operating revenue to nearly €300 million by 2006, from just over $150 million in 2002. The third category is financing, and here we'll focus on restructuring debt. In the wake of the pandemic in July 2020, Arsenal's owners, KSE, restructured the debt incurred by financing the construction of the Emirates Stadium. The restructuring involved one-time exceptional costs of £32.2 million, but came at a significantly lower interest rate and freed up £36 million of cash reserve. Specifically, Arsenal's annual cost of financing was halved from £20 million, 11 million interest plus 9 million loan repayments, to £10 million, 5 million of each interest and loan repayment. And the £36 million cash reserve led to a one-time uptick in cash flow. Arsenal couldn't use this reserve under the previous debt structure because it was mandated to be held only for debt payments. This significantly improved Arsenal's position despite matchday revenue disappearing during the pandemic. And finally, the most meaningful and significant business decisions by football clubs involve reshaping the leadership team and the football structure. And we'd like to highlight Brentford, specifically the decision to shut down their youth academy, a move heavily criticised at the time, and pursue a B-team model. Now, at a cost of roughly £2 million per year, running the academy was a loss-making venture for Brentford, who found themselves spending years coaching young players only to see them poached by bigger clubs, receiving paltry fees in exchange. Instead, Brentford decided to focus on recruiting players aged 17 to 20 that had been released by youth academies across the country or talent from undervalued overseas markets and house them in a B team. The B team wasn't entered into any league but played multiple friendlies throughout the year, and it proved significantly more cost-effective, running at roughly half the cost of the academy. Within its first season, 4 B team players went on to play for the first team. A total of 10 B team players have been officially promoted to the first team, most notably Chris Mepham, who rose through the B team and first team ranks and was ultimately sold to Bournemouth for £12 million, and Marcus Forss, who scored the goal that sent Brentford to Wembley for the playoff final in 2021. Now, it's worth pointing out that Brentford acquired an academy licence and announced plans to reopen their youth academy in 2022. The main reason is a change in Premier League rules which stipulate that all teams competing in the top flight in 24-25 must have a Category 3 level academy or higher. However, the B team model has been a resounding success, and Brentford maintain that it will continue to be the primary gateway into the first team. The academy will complement and enhance the B team programme, in the words of Brentford's Director of Football Phil Giles, as a continued endorsement of the latter's success. If you like this video, please consider subscribing to the channel. The Athletic brings you the best sports journalism in the world in a personalised experience, connecting you with the stories and teams that you care about the most. There's coverage of 13 sports, plus direct access to world-class journalists through live Q&As, discussions and podcasts. And you can try it now for free for 30 days by clicking the link in the description.